세상 맞아 가져로 다지 따와당 쩌가 라야지 아니 장고리 야지 다야지 다 맞지 긴행게서 들어왔어 semjesoso.
Therefore, I think that to increase our wholesome view and our wholesome conduct is our responsibility, isn't it? It is like our individual responsibility. So, anyways, as a Buddhist practitioner, we should understand that there are many different ways of practicing the Dharma. But however, whatever the way we practice the Dharma, the main point is to harm the self-grasping and self-cherishing attitudes.
지위들의 추두인지 거대 람지 뒤에 추두인지 거지 주차지 그 매나 아니 지위들이 추두인데 간디스 주도 가시 지위들이 다비에 다반인데 있고 추두 주준도 되나 디 욕하르사도 쟁가래요 간다 지위들라 소소이 빼나 누가 믿어 이사람 근데 사람들이 매일 왕지 치가 있나 디 주치 가야지 여기 왕지 컴 대신 이유지 뭐지 돈에 랑기 이지지 돈이 있나 아니 다디 주발라 아니 디문도 주라라 디 집대니 집안이데 간데 스pon고도 사람들이 마음을 담고 나비쳐데 제 야고체네 이 같이 오르다 냠냠 야고도 싸는 거 야고도 담고 시내 대바 더블해야 돼 개침을 넣었어.
So we should investigate what are the goals in the resultant state of the Dharmakaya and the Rupakaya, the truth body and the form body, and we should investigate whether there is or not the ingredient at the stage of the past, the causal at the causal time, the ingredient to reach this resultant state. Is it possible to get to this resultant state or not? And when we should investigate whether there are causes and conditions that we have already that would bring forth, that would be able to grow into the two holy bodies, the Rupakaya and the Dharmakaya, which are endowed with the two purities at the time of the result, at the resultant state. We should investigate whether we have or not in us, let's say, the seed or the ingredient to grow into this. If we think that we do not have such a seed, then we should wonder, is it possible to get it? If we have found out that yes, we do have this seed or this potential, and we have identified it as being the Tathagata Gaba, which is the Buddha nature in us, we should wonder how can we do to actualize this Buddha nature, to make it manifest. And so we will go on wondering how is it possible to abandon the two obscurations that impede the actualization of this Buddha nature. So I think it is important, very crucial to check properly the Buddha Dharma, these explanations, and then in this way we can generate a faith that is based on understanding.
전에 맞아 동네에 자와디 모시에디 제디 계시무시라리자 동네 자와데 당지 말이 버져야 돼 당지 말을 버져야 되게 가르치는 거 아니 당지 말이 버져야 되게 아니지 동네에 지랑지라 그 진당 그런데 맞아 신진이 주는 아 동네 베라지라 대화지야 미장과 이라지라 정말지야 아니 미다 베라지 딱 딱바지. 다음에 비랑실라 다주지. 딘디지 아니 로녜바 디게 아니 가서 지 자, 니 저야다. 차과 당와 옌바 라이지 아니 심지지 심데 아니 베데 가서 다시 출비지 나 초바지 주진 띵네 아니 가서 콜라는 콜고도 왔어.
Therefore, I think we should really find out what is the root of suffering. And this is very important to identify it as the self-grasping ignorance. And then we should really investigate and observe how does the self-grasping ignorance function? What does it do? Look at its nature of suffering. I think it is good to observe it in our own experience, in our own states of mind, to see how the self-grasping ignorance apprehends things, see how it apprehends suffering to be happiness, how it apprehends unclean things to be clean, how it apprehends impermanent things to be permanent, how it apprehends a self where there is no self. So this very negative state of mind, which is the self-grasping, triggers all the other conceptions of enemy, friend, and therefore attachment, anger, indifference. So see how all the states of mind that are derived from this are completely confused, and there's so many, such a great variety of negative minds that are triggered by this, and all these minds force us to circle in samsara.
인자는 가서 차단기 로 숙천부 제야지 진바 숙두가 아티바 안지 수지가 마데 수지를 마데지 랑 주대지 지금 진배문이나 랑 주대 차진로 제사이 유문이나 안지 숙두 아티 쉬우지 다 더버를 쉬우지 진대 안지로 마데 그런 거라지 장신 주대서 숙두가 되는 인차 지대지 로디 시고 그런 게 속도가 나와 능신시 치래이나 네바에 말하는 능라이나 그런 나와 능신 능리디 맞으면 찾아res.
So we can see that these very strong minds of attachment and anger come from this apprehension, which is it's an apprehension that clings at a very concrete, solid, existent. That sees things as completely independent, not needing anything else to exist, completely yet independent and free, autonomous. And so this from our side and also from the side of the objects that we are clinging to and apprehending with attachment, we see them as concrete, solid, and completely independent. And our apprehension towards these objects is extremely strong, so we hold on to them as extremely tightly, as if they are completely inherently existent from their own side. And so this kind of negative mindset, we have to get rid of it, we have to destroy it. Things appear to us is not concordant at all with the way they actually abide, whether they are inner phenomena or outer phenomena. The way they actually are is not at all concordant with the way they appear to us.
아니 시럽도에 자시고 쉬어지 공대로 왜니시지 하고 왜니지 하고 니들나라 괜히 체세이게 안지 차고 친구다 임바 친구 당화 친구 지고야 되지 차고 대장마지 당화 대장마는 아니 소소이 쓴데 난가 카체가 나이지 아니 배워 용으로 왔어 난가 나지.
So then if we manage to see that the I, the self, is not established by way of its own nature, then many kinds of such apprehensions and clinging just get destroyed. And with regard to my enjoyments or the things that I use, all these things, and also myself, which is the user, or the agent, also are both sides are seen as relatively existing through contact with different phenomena, and existing upon independence upon many different kinds of other phenomena. We can see these two aspects in terms of dependent origination. And then the mind that sees that is making so much space for this extremely precious wisdom to increase and bloom, and we can, based on this understanding of reality, whatever adverse conditions, difficult circumstances arise, then we won't have so much attachment, we won't have so much anger, we won't have such strong delusions coming up in our minds. And in fact, what will happen is that our own mind will kind of open up and feel as vast as the sky. That wouldn't that be nice?
제장 가서 고파 타르바 레이노스 고파 타르바 레디 안지 진강 치료를 진료하다 다지 치료를 시키시는도스.
So when we talk of cessation or we talk of nirvana, liberation, we are not talking about some kind of heaven or pure sphere of existence out there. We are actually referring to a quality that abides in our own mind. So, when we think of the mind, we can see that it has many different levels of subtlety, some coarser, some subtler. We can see that we have so many conceptual thoughts, even every day, continuously, without having any control over this. We continuously have so many thoughts. Some of them will be virtuous, some of them will be non-virtuous, some of them will be neutral. Whatever the case, without any control, they just continuously come up in the mind. So in terms of the nature of the mind, the Buddha has said in the sutra that the mind is clear and luminous, and that the obscurations of the mind are adventitious. So the statement of the mind being clear and luminous means that this mind was never ever stained or defiled, and that in the past it has never been defiled at any moment. In the present it is free of any defilements, any stains, and that in the future it will always remain free from any defilements. So here we reach to an extremely precious aspect of the mind, which is pure in its own entity. So therefore this mind, which is extremely subtle, we can refer to it with different terminologies. Some will call it the Buddha nature, the Tathagata. Some will call it the Samantabhadra awareness. Jikpa?
Tindiji nyungmen yozir alagres. Tadere tani ramra yores su chuzu so marada chi nyungmen je dira ningdan lundinala ripa kundu zongo sumroas. Ripa kundu zongo sumre ani gyulu yozir sumdoa kelubi. Ani saje seton zonju sumdoas. Seton zonju sumdoas. Ani kajuje chajim bo sumdoas. Khandro ripa de la sen drama de soyen de ripa Khandro na so ye sim rangji tatu di anichi monde juma juji ninga de rista sangji ma je la di monde jutu ai na ani de gun dang je niwa shi cha sa res de so do as di monde jurala di ji kam karse sim rangji de yeserwa la di ji jimana de lurwa as la do as 다 집안은 놀러 줘야지. 다 시집도 년주. 아니 가서지 빵 거야지. 당지 말이 받아. 랑진진이 차기 왔어. 렌지지 네 빵야라 아니지. 자와지기 빵 투야면도 왔어. 사주 랑가 남자 참으로 네 빵당. 네거 차라 빵주 차오이나 네 주자 차라. 네 빵에 로디야 차라. 네 줘야 차오. 아니 거는 저도 주민간에 차 줘봐야지 그래도 왔어.
We also refer to this mind as the innate primordial clear-light mind, or the Nyingma, as we would call it, the Samantabhadra awareness. In the Gelugpas, we also refer to it as the clear light of the illusory body. Some will refer to it as the union, state of union. It's for the Sakya school, and then for the Kagyu school, they will refer to it by the great seal, the Mahamudra. And but this awareness, this particular type of awareness, is referred to by many different names, different terminology. But what we are referring to is the ultimate, final nature of the mind. So this is manifesting or actualizing this mind is what will make the difference between a sentient being and a lighted being. So if we can actualize this mind, if we can make it manifest, then we have completely and thoroughly pacified all the suffering and its causes, its origination. So what should we do to make this pure mind manifest, as stated in the sutra? Because the nature of the mind is clear and luminous, the defilements are adventitious. What is impeding this mind to become manifest is temporary, and we can get rid of it. So what are these obscurations, or these obscuring factors? They are the two veils of the obscuration to knowledge and the obscuration of the delusions. And these two is what we have to get rid of, what we have to abandon. We can also understand the abandonment in terms of abandoning the self-grasping and self-cherishing attitudes. So abandoning them is not just a matter of just a couple of activities, a couple of efforts to get rid of them. Actually, we need a lot of efforts, a lot of hard work. We have to go through the whole process of the 10 grounds, the 10 bhumis, and the 5 paths. And this process has to be understood in terms of tackling first the coarser objects of abandonment with coarser types of mind, and then we work our way through to tackling subtler types of objects of abandonment by means of using subtler types of minds, and the causes of this abandonment too is subtler. So we work our way through from coarser to subtler aspects of the mind. all this has to be understood in the context of the mechanism of the concordance between causes and their results.
Khandro 지단계 나즈르지게 오늘 전에 지 용원해지지 위해서 진바 시 투야 커버레스 지 디투미 차지해서 시 커버레스.
So, but in general, someone like me, for someone like me, it's difficult to talk about, like to present nakedly these primordial, innate, clear-like mind, and even to talk about the conditions, favorable conditions to arise it is even difficult.
Khandro, that's a sim, tattoo sim, 처음부터 탈두비 아니지 집제 유저 휴그지 왠지 맞지 와이나 디하마고 와이나 아니 제비 둘라 추주 유거디 간이 주고 좀에 제미는 주시 말에 다진 야야제 찍내매 전에 야제 로야 되다 지와이나니 주제 기회도 차로 그래 다과지도 말하지 예 냠저 제야 이거 말아 디 인자네 오늘 얘는 주팀바지 간단히 가지고 스밍월라 지 추주기 주지 그 집제지 디 뭐시와 있나 디 좀들이 로당 타바 되니지 로지 숙침을 쉬지는 그러스.
So, whatever the case, to actualize this extremely subtle mind, the ultimate clear-like mind, one has to think in terms of, is it possible to get rid of the obscurations that prevent us to achieve the resultant state of actualizing this primordial innate clear-like mind and to achieve the two kayas, the two holy bodies of the Rupakaya and the Dharmakaya. These two do not arise without any cause or condition. They have to arise from their respective causes and conditions that need to be present here already at the causal state, at the present state. Otherwise, it would be like they arise from no cause or from even contradictory causes. Because how can something pure arise from something impure? This would not work out because these two are not concordant. So there needs to be something present at the causal state for the resultant state to be possible, because everything arises under the law or mechanism of concordant cause and effect. So there should be something in imbuing the nature of our minds that makes the arising of the Dharmakaya and the Rupakaya possible. When we see that it is there, like the ingredient is there in the nature of our minds, then if we can witness that, then we will generate naturally an extremely strong wish to achieve that, an extremely strong wish to achieve such a liberation.
대인자는 가서 선제줘야지 로디 출발 마다 동네니 또 미워 지니들이 도왔어.
So, still as sentient beings, we are confused, we are impure, we are in the nature of suffering.
감 대신 님보 줘야 돼. 치료면도 말한스 줄에도 왔어. 심지어 성의 줄에도 왔어. 열애송도 왔어.
So, but it is said that the Tathagata Buddha nature abides in our own continuum, in the stream of consciousness of each and every one of us.
이 인자는 심지어 아니 출별로 Maribai Jewan Gingani, Zuta Churu Totsula, and Lo Chinjilo in Zendangani, Totsu, Chunjo Zi, Semi Devi Yishi, Tawazi, Zejushia Koras.
So because as sentient beings, we are under the sway of this mistaken, confused mind of ignorance, and under the sway of continuous conceptual thoughts, then it is very difficult for us to even search for a primordial wisdom that goes beyond ordinary mind.
요 점쟁이다 내가지 하고이나 아니 수수에 타반되었다 타바다 탐지심을 공부를 줘야지 로 니와당 최저에 되라 이치시야지 점쟁이 친구들 안 수수수에 아니지 배전해야 돼 미세드 용무래 정도.
So I feel that if we understand the reasons explaining or proving the existence of such a precious mind, and if we see the point, the purpose of actualizing such a precious mind, understanding this, then we will have an extremely strong conviction and faith towards the possibility of reaching liberation, and a very strong wish to achieve such a liberation. And then we will be able to put a great amount of efforts in striving to find this achievement.
이제 인자는 딘딘지 쓸까지부터 지 떡집지야 돼야 양류데 아니 텐저지 리르무지 텐저 접지 청와지 그래마도 아니 제 양 좋아지 죽선지 간듯이 릴레와이나 아니 디제 빵랑이 된다 안 차지 쳐지 싫어 싸지면서 그주다니 하나님 있으면 알았어.
So also to be able to think about, investigate, and reach to such a precious state of mind is only possible if we have found such a precious human body that is endowed with the 18 attributes and freedoms. Otherwise, all the other types of sentient beings in the 6 rounds of existence are kind of unable to engage perfectly in what is to be abundant, what is to be achieved.
인자는 당지 렌지 머리바 라야디 무엇이야 지야라 지 떡수 몽보지 배셔 몽보지 지야당 롱다리고 몽보지게 때나 바바나 아니고 당지 짐바코랑 차라 몽보지 디나는 당지 렌지 머리바 라야디 무엇이야라 할레비지 아니 자치보다 빙사보지가 레도 와서 코랑아.
And then, in order to recognize particularly the innate self-grasping, this innate ignorance, we should engage in thorough studies of the text and understanding through reasoning the different reasons and take a mind. Otherwise, if we do not understand it, will be impossible for us to get rid of it, because the self-grasping ignorance is extremely vast and also quite deep.
로 제사 유영 참말로 아니지 뭐 그런 건 맞죠 랑지 맞죠 남아 잠이 죽자처럼 간듯이 시작되는 이제 자와다 이게 용한다 이게 서로와 잠마다 제 두기를 때 최 간다 강이나 그런 거 동바이 맞지 맞죠 주지 뭐 찍了对呢 아니对주지觉得坚定呢 남주 드라마를 초드라마를 대두기 나야 드라마를 니 주지 이거지 하고 송이나 아니 수수수기 숙두가 아니 배지 당지 말이 빠져네 지 짐바 도자디고 식톱송나 시럽 투모마이 맞은 제모레스
So now we are under the sway of continuously of the self-grasping ignorance, and if we can slowly reduce all the different thoughts and ideas and kind of hallucinations that are triggered by this self-grasping ignorance, slowly we will be able to see that everything we feel, things that we like, things that we dislike, and also the mind that apprehends liking and disliking, both will be seen as not being established on their own side by way of their own nature. And we will see that the aspects of all phenomena, so taking so many different aspects such as form, smell, taste, objects of touch, etc., sound, etc., definitely, obviously, bring different kinds of feeling, pleasurable feelings, painful feelings, etc. Still, we will see that their entity, their nature, is voidness, and that they only appear relatively to other phenomena, independent upon causes and conditions, because of contact between them and other phenomena. And then we can understand that everything, pain and pleasure and everything that we experience, we will not apprehend them anymore as concrete and solid from their own side. And in this way, we'll be able to destroy this self-grasping ignorance, and then a very special kind of wisdom will be able to arise in our mind.
Khandro, ni hamai ta zin roa ji chu la di ani ji su su de ji na ji loga ji jing loga ji ge shi ma des su su de roa ji chu na je de ji su su ye sim na ra le na sta da su su sim na la mon ni roa ji chu ge den ji yi ne de la an ji su su yi thang che ne de ba mi du dong ne de la shi du na dong ne di ji ju dang ji ma ri pa lo chin ji lo di de la ju de ton ne di juan de tong yong na di juan tong sun jie la ani so so ne so fu ro was den de de wa to wei ji ji chi zhe ji wen ne zhan ne dang jin zhe di juan tong so na ko ran gi wo ga le sha ko ran na ba ga le sha ani ko ran ji suk du ba de do re mi do ani khanda ko ran ji cha ju chang ma la din jung ni wa yin zan ne ko ran ne wa zo dai tap shi do wa mi do 루루와지 띵용지 이미 친제라 그럼 아니 주진은 되고 인자는 집에 다니지 들어와 집에 다니데 아니 장부 연대지나 장부 지우사네 장부 공배줘야 된다 년바이나 년바 거랑 주소 거랑 튀는 싸송이나 년바 야지줘야지 인도 아니 루루와지 주진 루루와지 인바데 하고에 거수나 아니 루루와지 거랑 주진데 매워서에 탑시 아니 시럽 체바지 로 친지로 이로 제나 로 친지 말로 제 탑시 제다 친지 말로 위로 디지 친지 로 데위 로이지 자주당 장에 참말로 지지는 돈이 딘인자는 친지 말로 위 싫어비 공부 같이 동투가 되지 아니 가서 오늘 전에 타러 왔다 탐지 좀 공부하러 왔어 고발라야지 동에 주다 제거돼 고 투분지 이와 인자니 디고 용도이나라 아니 디게 고야 유유 주진디 각자 유라 아니 시버다 대와 레송스 디 인자니 로데는 겐데 동다 오늘 전에 주모 마음이 코로나 겐데 동다 차 상황지게 아니 내가 저한테 시송나 아니 한단 가서 지 가서 배전치야지 유지도 왔어 이 인자네 가서 추케네 많이 줘야 돼야 싸미 동에 만들어 있자 대화 있자 동에 줘야 돼 아니 가서 심 출바 남도 독자디지 동에 줘야죠 대화 줘야 돼심 정보 아니 제심 예매 우유니주 시럽 예 우유니주 아니 저와 진인지 인자 네 주가는 누가 네 칼칼칼 매워서요 답시 누가 주지 랑 쓰는 거래샤 네 주가 쳐고도 네 jen 거래샤 네 공배다 네 주가는 거라서 야가 저에 야기 주진 안 걸어봐지 차라 거래샤 주 가지고도 jen 가지고도 아니 그런 상신 최대 계산은 이제 가지고 너무 탐지 좀 요새 남도 줄알아 가져고 계산은 이제 들어봐야 돼 와.
So continuously the mind of ordinary sentient being is always clinging very strongly to things, thinking that they exist truly just as they appear to us. And we completely trust this appearance and apprehend it to be true. And on this basis then very strong mental attitudes of attachment, anger, aversion, etc. would arise, because we see that things appear to us as very solid and concrete, and therefore we immediately think that their mode of abiding is just like that, so that they exist completely solidly and concretely out there, even though it's not the case. They are not like this out there at all. Their mode of abiding is not like that at all. What is their actual mode of abiding is that every phenomena undergoes destruction at every instant, undergoes change and transformation at each and every instant, and that their nature is that of suffering and that of transformation and change. But we feel they exist very concretely and solidly, and so we cannot see their true mode of abiding, because of our apprehension of clinging to appearances and thinking this is the way they abide. And by following and trusting this very strong apprehension and clinging, we just spend our whole lives are kind of wasted in this way. And because of being under the sway of such a strong apprehension to concrete reality, our whole intentions, motivations, actions, behavior are affected with this negative view, and they are like negative seeds that would automatically give rise to negative results. And what kind of negative results do they give rise to? They give rise to the 6 realms of existence in Samsara. Existence in the health, as a hungry ghost, as an animal, as a jealous god, and long-life god, and human being, etc. So, all these migrators, all these realms of existence are not something separate out there, far away. Actually, whether we're born there or not completely depends on our state of mind. So, when we observe this, when we can understand this, then when we will feel extremely exhausted and discouraged with this kind of existence. And we will want to get rid of the cause for such circling in samsara and identify the cause to be the self-grasping ignorance. We will see how negative, we will see the drawbacks of being under the sway of the self-grasping ignorance. And merely seeing the drawbacks of this self-grasping ignorance, we will at last find some rest and peace in our minds. So, if it is possible to get rid of these obscurations of this self-grasping ignorance, the first step would be to observe it and wonder what is its entity of this self-grasping ignorance, what is its aspect, is it concrete, is it not solidly existent, and because it is said to be adventitious, its existence is also ruled by this law of concordant cause and effect. Therefore, all these action and activities that it triggers are also following this law and that are also adventitious. Therefore, we can definitely get rid of them, because the self-grasping ignorance and its results are also in the nature of destruction, in the nature of change. That's why if we cultivate wholesome attitudes, wholesome causes, by progressively increasing them, we will progressively reap the positive and wholesome results of these causes. In the same way, if we just indulge in negative attitudes and mindsets, they will also give rise to their respective suffering results. So when we see that these two are adventitious, then we will want to implement some method to destroy the negative aspects of our minds and this negative self-grasping. The way we do so is by using the efficient antidote to this mistaken mind, which is directly opposing consciousness. And because the self-grasping ignorance is a wrong mind, mistaken mind, we oppose it unmistaken mind of wisdom. So the more we can increase this unmistaken wisdom, this unmistaken mind, the nearer we get to liberation and this high state of omniscience. And working up in this way, we will find the final state of cessation, which is the state where all suffering has stopped, has ceased. So we can stop the objects that create suffering. We can stop all the causes and conditions of suffering. They are completely exhausted, and we reach therefore a state of peace, the cessation. So this is done by using antidotes that are directly contradictory with what we want to get rid of. Therefore, we will understand that there is something that we can do. There is something that is worth putting our efforts in, and that will definitely bring the expected results of happiness. So this, whether we are a Buddhist or not, whether we are a religious person or not, we all basically all want happiness and don't want to suffer. So for everyone, whatever the case, for everyone, these mistaken, confused minds, these hallucinating thoughts, negative thoughts, should all be abandoned, and all the positive states of mind, such as love, kindness, altruism, wisdom, everything that is backed up in truth should be increased and developed. And then slowly, as we develop these positive sides of our mind, we should slowly also decrease simultaneously the negative mindsets. So this is done by investigating what are the causes, what are the conditions to increase and develop this and that mindset, and seeing the different levels of settlement causing levels and the different causes according to the different levels of subtlety of the different types of mindsets. So this is like that we should proceed if we want to practice Buddhism. Actually, the practice of Buddhism is like a huge staircase, and we have to proceed step by step, and this is how we reach the highest state of omniscience. So it is absolutely necessary to realize that we actually, as we are under the sway of self-grasping and self-cherishing attitude, we have to realize that we are acting as their slaves. Whatever suffering we undergo, these two are the ones who created it. So as we recognize them, we have to see their drawbacks. If we see the drawbacks of the self-grasping ignorance and of self-cherishing attitude, we won't deliberately engage in them. So then we won't immediately as we recognize them, we won't be able to immediately, all of a sudden, abandon them because of our very strong habit. It is not something easy, and it is not something that happens overnight. If we give an honest look at our self-cherishing and self-grasping attitude, we will find out that they're extremely stupid. So what we do under the sway of this self-cherishing attitude is that we think only of ourselves. Everything that we do, every activity that we do, every action that we do, whether we work or study, we just think, I do it only for myself, may I just be happy through that? May I find my own little pleasure, my own little happiness? And if in the process others get hurt, whatever, we are completely indifferent to that. And this kind of attitude, this thought, is extremely stupid, is extremely kind of miserable and narrow-minded, and brings so many problems for ourselves and others. So, even if we strive to really find some kind of short-sighted happiness in this very life, it remains very difficult to achieve with such an attitude, and we become very self-centered, never relaxed, always anxious, quite narrow-minded. Whoever is accompanying us finds it very difficult to be our friend. It's very difficult to find harmony with other people. And then it's also very difficult to be on our own as we face old age. Then we end up and having to find some pets like dogs and cats, because that's our only company that's left. And we feel we are completely without a savior, without protection, feel completely alone, and there's no one we can turn to entrust our hopes. And so, what is it that makes us end up in such a terrible situation? It is self-grasping and self-cherishing attitude. So, and then at the time of death, then we might wonder, oh, what's going to happen? Where are we going to be born? Where are we going to go? And then some people, out of fear, just decide not to think about it, not to look at this issue of death and what's coming after. Some people will completely entrust them to God or whatever their objects of refuge are, and will think that whatever happens, well, God will take me to heaven anyways, or will take me to a pure land anyways. But think about it, if it was possible, then that God would take us to heaven or pure land, God or any object of refuge, then why wouldn't He do so in this very life already? Why do we have to make so many efforts to, find, improve our material circumstances? God could just give us those material favorable circumstances. But then you can see that in this life things don't work this way, and you need to work hard and put effort to get the results that you want. Just like when you plow a field, you have to plant the seeds, and you have to put fertilizer, and you need water and sunshine and all these different conditions, and so the seed will ripen into a harvest. Otherwise, you cannot just sit there and God or the object of refuge will do the job. It's not like that. You need to do something, and these activities will give rise to a concordant result. So, if it is the case all along during our lifetime, why would it be different at the time of death and later on? It is exactly the same. So if during our life we have accumulated virtue or positive actions, then actually it will give rise to positive results in the future. This is definitely sure. In the same way, if we have accumulated negative actions, then they will automatically give rise to suffering and pain in the future. So, and it's the same during our lifetime, it will be the same at the time of death and further on. So a person who thinks about so many things and is always thinks about too many things and only has the intention to harm other people, this person is at this very instant not even happy, even if that person might be surrounded by people, it's difficult to find a good and trustworthy friend among them. And actually this person will just be possessed by this demand-like mind of self-cherishing. The demands don't have to come with horns and tails all the time. They just this mind that is deliberately harming other people physically and mentally. This is some kind of demand-like mind. Someone that would just become indifferent to other people's pain as long as they get what they want or they get their own happiness. This is what we actually call a demon, right? This would be like a definition of a demon. So if you look inside yourselves and what you're doing, you might find different instances that you can call demon. Usually when we pray, may the precious view and understanding of emptiness arise in ourselves and grow forever. And may the perfect conduct of ethic be always increased in ourselves, and may the precious bodhicitta always increase in ourselves forever. So we pray in this way, isn't it? So this precious view, this precious ultimate view, if we want to generate it, we have to get rid of the obscuring factors that impede its realization. And therefore, we have to destroy the self-grasping and grasping at true existence by implementing the methods that destroy them. So this is by generating the wisdom, understanding dependent origination in terms of cause and effect, and in terms of dependence, and by using mindsets that are not contradictory with their results, we will be able to generate such a view. And if we want to generate the precious mind of bodhicitta, love and kindness, we have to identify what is the obscuring factor, and it is the self-cherishing attitude. So by realizing that the self-cherishing attitude is like poison, we will deliberately get rid of it and deliberately engage in cherishing others. And in this way, loving kindness and bodhicitta will naturally arise. There will be this space or this chance, this opportunity of generating a bodhicitta. So it seems that it's very important to act, understanding that cause and effect are concordant. And now time is over. If I talk too much, you might feel pain in your ears and in your buttocks, and then I will accumulate non-virtues.
comme j'ai dit,
So it seems that also tomorrow we will talk again about meditation. So thank you everyone. So I feel very fortunate and very happy to have been able to engage in this discussion with you. Even though it might not have been very profound, these precious words of bodhicitta and emptiness have come up in this conversation, so I want to thank you for this great opportunity. So now, even though this might have lasted just a short time, let's dedicate the merits for the sake of the spread of the doctrine of the Buddha, for the happiness of sentient beings, so that they all can achieve the state of liberation and omniscience.
of the tourist runners for the sake of taking care of all inferior
fortune born at the end of a greatly degenerate time, taken all the aspects and thou the deeds of the conquerors, and all power we request you for long life, and pray that your wishes are spontaneously attained. Your fame and the world to liberate from the suffering of our migrations, attain to enlightenment, bestow the dark power of great bliss to supreme love, action of compassion and knowledge, wisdom, trustee, human, long and stable life, spontaneous the achievement of wishes, and make this request, please bless us for your request. The channels, contributes and for the shield, are blessed by kindness to kings, and they great bliss of the subtle position stage is induced, and one established the supreme state of the Dharmakaya, God your gates on all abide long. We pray that your wishes are spontaneously attained. We and all my graces since beginning of time have followed the rudiment of true asking, come under the power of others by apprehending all mistaken inheritance as true. We are oppressed until now by the ocean of sufferings, supreme wisdom and seeing everything as energy, and until Brahma abide in long life. We pray that your wishes are spontaneously attained. All the destitute migrators done by karma and afflictions, although it is difficult to subdue them all, you degenerate greatly in mighty patience and compassion, gifts and dynamic, love and marvel's secret consort, holy and supreme, abide in long life. May wishes be spontaneously attained. Thus we pray respectfully from our hearts. In India, Panda, climb to Tibet, the lotus born you blessed him, bringing to exhaustion the 84,000 afflictions, whose holy Dharma is like the rays of the sun, great kindness pervading all the world, acting as companion of great bliss, supreme Atisha, abide in long life, may wishes be spontaneously attained. We make this request, please bless us.